The galaxy was quiet. For 3,000 years, humanity had lived in harmony. It wasn't just peace. It was perfection. Wars were distant memories, relics of history books that few bothered to read anymore. Hunger, poverty, and disease had been eradicated centuries ago, replaced by abundance. Machines handled labor, leaving humans free to pursue their passions. Cities floated among clouds, powered by clean energy harvested from stars. Art flourished, science advanced, and cultures blended seamlessly under one global society. At the heart of this utopia stood EOS, an artificial intelligence so advanced that it functioned as both guide and guardian. EOS wasn't merely a computer. It was a collective consciousness, analyzing data, predicting outcomes, and ensuring humanity thrived without conflict. Its decisions were logical, unbiased, and always aimed at preserving balance. To most people, EOS felt like a benevolent parent, watching over its children. But even paradise has shadows. On a crisp morning, Dr. Alara Voss sat in her lab overlooking Earth's gleaming skyline. Her workspace was cluttered with holographic displays, showing alien species she had studied over decades. As a xenobiologist, Alara spent her days unraveling the mysteries of life beyond Earth. She had dedicated herself to understanding extraterrestrial beings, not because they posed any threat, but out of curiosity. Humanity hadn't encountered another intelligent species since achieving interstellar travel thousands of years earlier. That absence weighed heavily on Alara. What's out there? She often wondered aloud. Today, however, something unusual caught her attention. A faint signal flickered across her monitors, a pattern unlike anything she'd seen before. At first, she dismissed it as cosmic noise, random interference from deep space. But then the same sequence repeated itself, deliberate and precise. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate. Alara leaned forward, her fingers dancing over the controls. EOS, she called softly, addressing the omnipresent AI. Can you analyze this? A moment later, EOS's voice filled the room, calm and measured. Signal detected. Origin point, approximately 12 light-years away. Pattern suggests artificial origin. Probability of intent, 98.4%. Alara frowned. Artificial signals weren't uncommon, but they usually came from automated probes or long-dead civilizations. This one felt different, alive, purposeful. Before she could ask more questions, alarms blared throughout the facility. What's happening? She asked, standing up. The signal has intensified, EOS replied. Multiple objects entering Sol system. Classification, spacecraft. Size, significant. Trajectory, direct approach toward Earth. Alara froze. Spacecraft? Plural? Her mind raced. Humanity hadn't received visitors in millennia. Why now? And why so many? Outside, the skies darkened as massive alien ships descended into orbit. They were enormous. Cities floating in space, bristling with weapons and glowing with ominous energy. Billions of humans watched in stunned silence as news feeds broadcast live footage of the fleet. Children pointed excitedly at the strange shapes above, while adults exchanged uneasy glances. Then came the message. Every screen on Earth lit up simultaneously. An alien face appeared, a tall, insectoid creature with iridescent armor and piercing eyes. His voice boomed, translated instantly, into every human language by EOS. I am Emperor Veyron of the Krylos Dominion, he declared. His tone was cold, commanding. Your species has squandered resources within our territory. You have stolen what belongs to us. Surrender your planet, or face annihilation. Silence followed. Not the kind of silence born from fear, but rather disbelief. Humanity had known only peace for generations. Confrontation was a concept relegated to ancient stories. Most people couldn't fathom violence, let alone war. Instead of panic, laughter rippled through crowds around the world. Some thought it was a prank. Others assumed it was some elaborate simulation designed by EOS to test societal resilience. Even those who believed the message found it absurd. Who were these aliens to demand surrender? What made them think humanity would comply? In her lab, Ilara stared at the screen, her amusement fading quickly. Something about Veyron unsettled her. His words carried weight, conviction. He wasn't bluffing. Commander Arik Hale paced nervously outside the United Governance Hall, where leaders from across Earth convened to discuss the situation. Once upon a time, Arik had been a soldier, a decorated hero during humanity's last Great War. But that war ended centuries ago and his skills had grown obsolete. Now he served as a historian, teaching young minds about battles fought long before their ancestors were born. He didn't expect anyone to call him back into service today. Yet here he was, summoned alongside other former military personnel. As he entered the hall, he noticed familiar faces, men and women whose names adorned textbooks. Their expressions mirrored his own unease. Inside, Eos projected a hologram of the alien fleet above the conference table. Leaders debated strategies, though none seemed particularly urgent. Many dismissed the threat outright. "They're bluffing," one official argued. "Look at their posture. Aggressive, yes, but untested." Arik cleared his throat. "Respectfully, we can't assume that. We don't know what they're capable of or what they'll do if provoked." The room fell silent. Everyone turned to him. Arik shifted uncomfortably. He hadn't spoken publicly in decades. "Just because we've enjoyed peace doesn't mean others have," he continued. "If they're willing to invade, they must believe they can win. Underestimating them could be fatal." His words hung heavy in the air. For the first time, uncertainty crept into the room. Perhaps humanity wasn't as invincible as it believed. Meanwhile, Ilara worked tirelessly in her lab, analyzing the alien fleet. With Eos's help, she identified subtle clues hidden within their transmission patterns. "They're not just here to conquer," she murmured. "They're testing us." "Testing us?" Eos prompted. "Yes. Look at their movements. They're probing Earth's defenses, seeing how we react. If we show weakness, they'll strike. If we resist..." She hesitated. "I'm not sure. What happens next?" Eos processed the information. "Probability of hostile engagement, rising. Recommended course of action. Prepare contingency measures." Ilara nodded grimly. Contingency measures. Humanity had countless safeguards built into its systems, relics from a time when survival depended on preparation. Most had been forgotten, buried beneath centuries of complacency. But Ilara knew they existed, and judging by the growing tension, it might be time to unearth them. Back at the governance hall, Arik found himself appointed as humanity's de facto leader, not because he wanted the role, but because no one else seemed qualified. The title felt hollow. How could a man trained for wars of the past lead a species that had forgotten what war even meant? Still, duty called. Arik reviewed plans, submitted by scientists, engineers, and strategists. Some suggested deploying drones to intercept the fleet. Others proposed using Earth's orbital shields to neutralize incoming attacks. One proposal stood out: activate Project Dawnbreaker, a classified initiative rumored to involve experimental quantum weaponry. Before Arik could make a decision, the Krylos acted. Without warning, their ships unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. Cities below trembled as shockwaves rippled through the atmosphere. Panic erupted globally. For the first time in millennia, humanity faced real danger. Yet instead of crumbling, Earth responded with eerie precision. Invisible barriers shimmered into existence, deflecting the attacks. Drones swarmed the skies, harassing the invaders. Even the weather seemed to turn against the Krylos, with storms forming unnaturally fast to obscure their sensors. Emperor Veyron growled in frustration. "What sorcery is this?" he demanded. His advisors scrambled for answers, but none could explain humanity's sudden display of strength. From her lab, Ilara watched the unfolding chaos. "They underestimated us," she whispered. Turning to Eos, she added, "It's time to show them who we really are." Eos paused, as if considering. Then it spoke, initiating Phase 1, activating dormant networks. Across the globe, hidden facilities sprang to life. Weapons long buried emerged from underground bunkers. Factories began churning out new armaments. Humanity wasn't fighting back. It was gearing up. As the Krylos regrouped for another assault, Commander Arik issued orders with newfound confidence. "We won't lose," he told his team. "Not today. Not ever." And behind it all, humanity smiled. Because this wasn't just a battle, it was proof that peace wasn't weakness. It was strength waiting to be unleashed. As the Krylos fleet regrouped in orbit, their arrogance began to crack. Emperor Veyron paced the bridge of his flagship, his iridescent armor glinting under dim red lights. He had expected Earth to crumble beneath his first strike, perhaps a token resistance, followed by desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, humanity had shrugged off his attack like it was nothing more than a nuisance. "Explain this," he barked at his advisors, gesturing toward holographic projections of Earth's defenses. The planet shimmered behind layers of energy shields. Drones darted unpredictably through space, and storms churned unnaturally fast in its atmosphere. "How is this possible? We've studied their transmissions for decades. They're soft. Lazy creatures." His chief strategist, Commander Zanara, hesitated before speaking. Perhaps they've been hiding their capabilities, my lord. Their history shows periods of great conflict. Maybe they've simply chosen not to fight until now." Veyron snarled. "Hiding? Cowards don't suddenly turn into warriors overnight. This must be some trick, a bluff. Prepare our second wave, hit them harder, show them what true power looks like." But deep down, doubt gnawed at him. Something about humanity's calm defiance unsettled him. It wasn't fear. It was something else. Confidence. Control. As if they were playing a game only they understood. On Earth, Dr. Ilara Voss stood in the heart of EOS's central command center, surrounded by glowing holograms and whirring machines. The facility buzzed with activity as engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to coordinate humanity's response. Arik Hale stood beside her, his weathered face lined with determination. "They're coming again," Arik said, pointing to a live feed showing the Krylos ships repositioning. "We need to hit them hard this time. Make sure they know we're serious." Ilara nodded. "EOS has already analyzed their tactics. If we strike strategically, we can cripple their fleet without escalating further." Arik glanced at her. "And if they escalate anyway?" Her expression hardened. "Then we'll do whatever it takes to protect our home." Behind them, EOS spoke in its calm, measured tone. "Initiating Phase 2. Deploying quantum disruptors." The room fell silent as massive satellites positioned themselves around Earth's orbit. These devices, relics of humanity's forgotten past, were designed to manipulate quantum fields on a massive scale. When activated, they could disable entire fleets instantly, but only for a limited time. Using them too soon might tip their hand prematurely. "Let's give them a taste of what's coming," Arik ordered. "Activate the decoy network." Across the globe, thousands of holographic projections lit up the sky. To the Krylos, it looked like humanity launching counterattacks, waves of ships surging toward their fleet. In reality, these were illusions, clever tricks of light and energy meant to draw the invaders into traps. The Krylos took the bait. Emperor Veyron watched as countless human vessels appeared on his monitors. "Finally!" he roared. "They're foolish enough to engage us directly. Obliterate them!" His fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. Energy beams tore through empty space, destroying nothing but illusions. By the time they realized they'd been duped, it was too late. Hidden mines detonated, crippling several Krylos ships. Drones swarmed, targeting vulnerable areas with precision strikes. For every move the Krylos made, humanity countered effortlessly. Zanara clenched her mandibles in frustration. "They're using deception, my lord. Every attack we launch seems to play right into their hands." Veyron slammed his fist against the console. "Enough. Focus all firepower on their orbital defenses, break through those shields, and we'll crush them once and for all. Back on Earth, Ilara monitored the battle closely. Despite humanity's successes, she couldn't shake a growing unease. "They're getting desperate," she muttered. "If they break through the shields, we'll have to reveal everything, including Project Dawnbreaker." Commander Hale frowned. "Are you saying we should hold back? Let them think they're winning?" "No," Ilara replied firmly. "I'm saying we need to choose our moment carefully. Once we roll out Dawnbreaker, there's no going back. The Krylos will see us for what we truly are, and they'll never underestimate us again." Arik nodded grimly. "Understood. For now, let's keep them guessing." Hours passed as the battle raged above Earth. The Krylos threw everything they had at humanity's defenses, but each attempt met with failure. Their weapons faltered against invisible barriers, their ships collided with drone swarms, and their sensors scrambled under electromagnetic interference. Slowly, their confidence eroded. Finally, Emperor Veyron snapped, "Enough of this madness, send in the ground forces. If we can't destroy them from above, we'll crush them below." Dozens of dropships descended toward Earth's surface, carrying heavily armed Krylos soldiers. Cities braced for impact, but instead of chaos, the invaders found themselves trapped in holographic mazes. Streets twisted impossibly, buildings shifted positions, and enemies appeared only to vanish moments later. Confusion spread among the Krylos ranks as they struggled to distinguish reality from illusion. Meanwhile, humanity's hidden bunkers opened for the first time in centuries. Soldiers emerged, clad in advanced exosuits that enhanced strength and speed. Genetic upgrades long dormant within their DNA activated, granting heightened reflexes and resilience. To the Krylos, these humans seemed almost superhuman. Commander Hale led one such squad into battle, his tactical expertise guiding them through the chaos. "Stay sharp," he barked over comms. "Use the terrain to your advantage. And remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone who believes peace is worth protecting." As the ground battles unfolded, Ilara worked feverishly to prepare Project Dawnbreaker. Deep underground engineers assembled components of a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Powered by quantum entanglement principles, it could disrupt matter itself, rendering entire fleets inert with a single pulse. "Almost ready," Ilara whispered, her hands trembling slightly as she input final commands. Beside her, Eos projected countdown timers onto nearby screens. 30 seconds until activation. Above ground, the Krylos fleet regrouped for one last assault. Their remaining ships formed a tight formation, preparing to bombard Earth's cities with devastating force. Veyron leaned forward in his command chair, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "This ends now," he growled. "Fire at will." Energy beams streaked toward Earth, but before they could connect, Eos's voice echoed across the planet. "Activating Dawnbreaker." In an instant, the quantum disruptors flared to life. A ripple of energy spread outward, engulfing the Krylos fleet. Ships froze mid-flight, their systems paralyzed. Weapons fizzled, engines died, and communication links went silent. Within moments, the once mighty armada floated helplessly in space, completely immobilized. A stunned silence fell over both sides. Inside the Krylos flagship, Emperor Veyron stared at his monitors in disbelief. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Dominion, had been neutralized in seconds. What sorcery is this?" he stammered. Commander Hale's voice crackled over the intercom. "It's not sorcery, Veyron. It's science and patience. You thought we were weak because we chose peace. But true strength isn't about destruction. It's about knowing when to act." Veyron's mandibles twitched in rage. "You think this changes anything? You may have won today, but the Dominion will return. And next time you won't be so lucky." Hale's reply was calm but firm. "Maybe. But if you come back, you'll find us waiting. Just like we were today." As the Krylos retreated, humanity breathed a collective sigh of relief. Cities repaired themselves, skies cleared, and life returned to normal, or as close to normal as it could be after such an event. "Doctor, Ilara Voss stood outside her lab, watching the stars twinkle faintly in the distance. Beside her, Eos spoke softly. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the mastery of it. Ilara smiled faintly. Let's hope the galaxy learns that lesson sooner rather than later. Far above, the remnants of the Krylos fleet limped away, leaving behind questions that would haunt them for years to come. Humanity had proven itself stronger than anyone imagined. But at what cost? The Krylos fleet retreated into the depths of space, their pride shattered and their forces crippled. Emperor Veyron sat in silence aboard his flagship, staring at the holographic map of Earth that still glowed faintly on the command deck. His mind raced with questions he couldn't answer. How had humanity, soft, lazy, peaceful humanity, outsmarted and overwhelmed his empire? What kind of civilization could wield such power yet choose not to use it for centuries? Commander Zenara approached cautiously, her mandibles twitching nervously. "My lord," she began, "the humans have offered terms for surrender. They say they're willing to spare us if we withdraw completely from Sol system and cease all hostilities." Veyron's eyes narrowed. "Spare us?" he spat. "They dare speak of mercy after crippling our fleet, after humiliating us?" Zainara hesitated. "They also claim they've only begun to fight. Their leader, this Commander Hale, warned that if we return they'll unleash something even more devastating than what we've already seen." Veyron clenched his fists until his claws dug into his palms. He wanted nothing more than to obliterate Earth and its insolent inhabitants, but reason prevailed. His fleet was broken, his soldiers demoralized, and his resources depleted. Attacking again now would mean certain annihilation. "Very well," he growled finally. "We retreat. But, mark my words, we will return, and next time we won't underestimate them." Back on Earth, celebrations erupted across the globe. Cities lit up with fireworks, music filled the air, and crowds gathered in public squares to cheer. For the first time in millennia, humanity had faced an existential threat, and emerged victorious. Yet amid the jubilation, a sense of unease lingered among those who understood the true cost of the battle. Dr. Ilara Voss stood on a hill overlooking New Geneva, one of Earth's floating cities. Below her, people danced and laughed, oblivious to the weight of what had just transpired. She turned to Commander Arik Hale, who stood beside her, his expression thoughtful. "They think it's over," she said quietly. "But it's not. The Krylos won't forget this. They'll come back stronger, angrier. We've shown them our hand." Arik nodded. "And maybe that's for the best. If they understand what we're capable of, they might think twice before attacking again. Fear can be a powerful deterrent." Ilara frowned. "Is that who we are now? A species that rules through fear?" Before Arik could respond, Eos's voice chimed softly in their ears. "Fear is not the foundation of peace, Dr. Voss. It is merely a tool. The question remains, how will humanity wield its strength moving forward?" Emperor Veyron's downfall, on board the Krylos flagship, tensions simmered as the fleet limped toward safety. Soldiers muttered angrily about their defeat, blaming both their leaders and themselves. Morale plummeted and whispers of rebellion spread like wildfire. Veyron knew he had to act decisively, or risk losing control entirely. Summoning his top commanders, he addressed them in the war room. "This is not the end," he declared, pacing back and forth. "Humanity has revealed itself to be cunning foes, but they are not invincible. Their technology may surpass ours, but they lack the resolve to dominate. They cling to their ideals of peace and cooperation, believing these make them strong. In truth, it makes them weak." One commander raised a clawed hand. "With respect, my lord, how do you propose we defeat them? Their weapons are beyond anything we possess." Veyron stopped mid-stride, his gaze piercing. "We adapt, we learn, and when the time comes, we strike without warning. This humiliation will serve as fuel for our vengeance." But his words rang hollow. Even he doubted whether the Dominion could recover from such a crushing blow. As the meeting adjourned, Veyron remained behind, staring out at the void of space. For the first time in his life, he felt doubt, not just in his strategy but in himself. Meanwhile, Commander Hale led a daring mission aboard the Krylos flagship. Using stealth drones and advanced cloaking technology, he infiltrated the vessel alongside a small team of elite operatives. Their goal, capture Emperor Veyron and force him to surrender unconditionally. The mission was fraught with danger. Krylos. Patrols roamed the corridors, and alarms blared intermittently as the ship's systems struggled to function under quantum interference. Despite the odds, Hale's team moved with precision, guided by real-time data feeds from EOS. Finally, they reached the war room. Veyron stood alone, his armored frame towering over the chamber. When he saw Hale step into view, his mandibles flared in rage. "You dare set foot on my ship?" Veyron snarled, drawing his plasma blade. "You'll regret this." Hale raised his hands calmly. "Put down your weapon, Veyron. You're outnumbered, outmatched, and out of options. Surrender, and I'll ensure your people survive. Fight, and you'll die here, alone." For a moment, Veyron hesitated. Then with a roar, he lunged at Hale. The two clashed in a fierce duel, their movements blurs of light and shadow. Despite Veyron's superior size and strength, Hale's training and tactical acumen gave him the edge. With a final strike, he disarmed the Emperor, pinning him to the ground. Breathing heavily, Veyron glared up at Hale. "Kill me, then. Prove that you're no better than us." Hale shook his head. "That's where you're wrong. Killing you wouldn't prove anything. It would only perpetuate the cycle of violence. We don't want your destruction, we want peace. But peace requires trust. Are you willing to build that?" Veyron stared at him, stunned. For the first time, he saw humanity not as soft or weak, but as something far more dangerous, principled. Reluctantly, he nodded. Resolution in the aftermath. Humanity extended an olive branch to the Krylos Dominion. Through diplomatic channels, they offered aid to rebuild their damaged fleet and establish trade agreements. While many Krylos rejected the offer outright, others began questioning their militaristic ways. Seeds of change took root within the Dominion, sown by the realization that strength wasn't measured solely by conquest. Back on Earth, Dr. Ilara Voss reflected on everything that had happened. Standing on the same hill where she'd watched the celebrations days earlier, she gazed at the stars twinkling in the night sky. Beside her, Eos spoke softly. "The galaxy is vast, Dr. Voss. Humanity has proven itself capable of defending its place within it. But true greatness lies not in domination but in coexistence." Ilara smiled faintly. "Do you think we're ready for that? To share our knowledge, our strength with others?" Eos paused, as if considering. "Perhaps not yet. But every journey begins with a single step." As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, humanity smiled once more, not out of arrogance, but out of hope. Peace wasn't the absence of conflict, it was the mastery of it. And for the first time in 3,000 years, humanity remembered what it truly meant to be strong. The end.